everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to come online and have this wonderful occasion of talking to Demallo Dasgupta, who is now currently the corporate EHS manager at Sherwin-Williams, a multinational oil and coating company, and also one of the Fortune 500 companies. And just to introduce myself, I am Professor and Associate Dean Research at Jindal School of Environmental Sustainability. I teach courses that are mostly linked with environmental management and also on pollution, health, and different similar aspects. So this is a great occasion for us to get Mr. Demallo Dasgupta here. He's very busy, and before I start this over, I would like to introduce Demallo not only as a great professional in the field of EHS, environment, health, and safety, but we started our journey in this environmental field almost together. Long time back in 2005 to 2007, we used to share the same classroom. Demallo with my batchmate. We used to do our MSc together, and then they specializes mostly in apply environmental technology and sciences and different management aspects. And today he is one of the renowned name in industries, where he not only implement the EHS skill sets, which is environment, health, and safety, but he also is actively involved with all the recent attributes of the environment ESG framework, the environment, society, and governance. So without further ado, I will just give the floor to Mr. Demallo Dasgupta and request him to talk a little about himself and also about his current domain of work and what interesting work he's doing right now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Avirup. It's a great pleasure to seeing all you guys. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, during our conversation, definitely I'm going to share some of my experience with all of you, but let us talk about my current role, responsibility, what I'm doing. So it's going to be very informal. So if you have any question, so we don't have any presentation, so not like any other lecture. So if you have any questions, always feel free to chat, and Oviru is going to monitor that chat, so we can always take those questions in between. So I work as an EHS professional in this company called Sherwin-Williams. Question. Is it okay? So we don't have any presentation. I think there is something echoing. Oviru, can you just confirm? Are you able to see?
Yes,
my audio is okay?
You're perfectly audible and visible. Everything is fine. I think for a few minutes there was an echo. Now it's perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect then. So I work as an EHS professional in this company called Sherwin-Williams. So if you just Google it, you will get to know what kind of company they are. So they are into paint and coatings. It's more than 150 years old company, one of the Fortune 500 company in the US. So I work there as a corporate environmental manager. So our head office in Cleveland, Ohio, in the US. But I'm based in Manchester, in the UK, because I'm mostly responsible for Europe. We call it an EMEAI region, which includes Europe, Middle East, Africa, and India. However, if you see our main footprint, more than 80%, it's in Europe. So that's why I travel a lot in Europe. We have 2 manufacturing plants in India and 1 in Africa, and the rest everything in Europe. So as of now, I'm responsible for their environmental compliance, EHS integrations, and I would say in some of the cases, environmental programs for mainly all of our European site. So now I'm handling more than 50 plus site. And the way our company is they're aggressively started buying other small companies. So last 18 months, there are acquisition of almost 5 companies. So we are really busy with whenever you buy a new company. So they have their systems and you just come in, try to integrate with your system, sometimes which is better and sometimes it's a win-win situation. So there are two parts. One is the regular activities. The other is now I'm really busy with acquisition and EHS integration. Does it make sense to you?
That's really interesting. So you are looking after the most of the production units in these areas, and I'm pretty sure that what kind of role generally EHS manager is having nowadays. I mean, I'm asking because of the plethora of experience that you have in this field for a long time.
Okay, so are you asking only for industry or in general?
I'm asking your, role in now. I mean, what kind of EHS, but domain you are working on, and anything interesting that happened or something that you want to share with us?
Yeah, it's really very interesting, I'd say. So now, suppose last week, I was in a company called ICA. ICA is a really big company in Italy. So which is being acquired by Sherwin-Williams 2 months back. So they have 4 manufacturing units and almost 14 blending units. So I had the opportunity to visit their site last week and see their site and try to help them with the environmental program. So if you see an environmental field, so definitely we'll talk about later in our later conversation, definitely in environmental field. So we have several functions starting with, say, environmental program, and many companies, they try to manage it through ISO 14001. Those are basically programs. So you might have seen in India, so there are some ad from Flipkart or Amazon asking for environmental program manager. So who basically do what they do? So they just do like develop some of the program. So when we talk about environment in industry, it's basically how we are going to control your emissions, how we are going to protect your water and soil, and how we are going to manage your different kind of waste. So these are the broad topic. In big companies, when you have multiple units, so you have a specific person for each and every functions. And if it is a small company, generally one person does everything by his own. So this is one area where I believe many of your students can look for once they graduate, if they don't have any intention to do for post-graduation. So which is, I would say, little semi-technical. You don't need very much technical background if you want to be a program manager or program specialist. Then comes like environmental compliance. So compliance is basically of 2 types. So one is kind of your own program, how you are complying with them, and what about the legal regulations, compliance to your local regulations, and some of the cases, say, international regulations, how you are managing them. Compliance includes internal audits as well. So again, which is not a very highly technical field, and anybody who is having a graduate degree, whether environment or related, so they can pursue such kind of a career. So third is wastewater treatment, which is a really very large field in the industry, especially in India. So in Europe, it's little different, because in Europe, most of the plant, they don't have their treatment system. So they just collect it and hand over to a third party, and who does it for you. So if it is a municipal sewerage, so generally the council or the municipality, they take care of. If it is an industrial effluent, then you have always some external contractor who help you to treat those wastewater. But in India, generally, they recruit a dedicated person for wastewater treatment. And most of the Indian industry, they have their in-house treatment facilities, a kind of STP sewage treatment plant or effluent treatment plant. So there is one opportunity, but thing is that it's a highly technical field. So if you don't have an engineering or especially a chemical engineering or environmental engineering background, sometimes civil engineering background, it's a little difficult to sustain because there are a lot of new things you need to learn. But I would say it is not impossible because I started my career with wastewater engineering, though I do not have any engineering background. So you can manage, but again, how the industry is, their perspective, and how willingly you need to learn it and you need to just do it how fast. So that is up to you. This is another field you can always pursue, both in the country and overseas. And it's really very interesting. In some of the companies, like big companies, they hire multiple people in this field. Like many of the operations, they run in shift. So they need, say, 2 or 3 environmental engineer or environmental professional to run those shifts. So good opportunity here. Next is waste management. In waste management, there are some companies who does it in both in our country and in overseas. In overseas is 100%, I would say, done by third party. But in India, I would say it's a 50-50. So some of the stuff we do and some of the stuff, some of the contractor or a third party does. So good opportunity here. So what is the skill set you need to acquire here is to know about the local regulations. So if you work in India, so definitely you should be very thorough about hazardous waste rules, which is I think last amended in 2018, so which is very latest and very comprehensive. So you can download those regulations from CPCB's website. It's not, I would say, not very subjective. So it's very detailed. So if you read it, and if you have a basic graduate degree, and I strongly believe you will be able to understand, it's not highly technical. So this is one area. So where industry recruits as well as those waste management companies, they also recruit. So this is another field. Next is the remediation, which is I would say in India, it's still 100% almost a consultancy based function. So in many cases, most of the industry people, they don't understand what remediation is. So I can just give you an example what remediation and core environment is and how they are different. Say once there is a citation or you get a notice from the authority, there are some proofs of pollution in your area, in your neighboring area of the industry. So either in form of soil or in form of groundwater. And it was proven that the industry is responsible for that contamination. So the action is now you need to take some of the remediation action. So if it is water, you have to clean up the water. If it is soil, you have to excavate the soil and dispose it as a hazardous waste and refill those area with good quality of soil. So these are the remediation actions. So in some cases, they are technical. You have to do some calculation and other stuff. But in India, if we get some kind of situations, we generally reach out to some of the consultant. some of the consulting firm, big firm like ERM and others, so who come and help you for remediation. But say in first world countries, say in Europe or in the US, so if you are part of a big group of companies, so they have their own remediation team who does it by their own, and sometimes they involve some of the third party. So this is one area which is very close to environment. And since I was educated in India, so our course curriculum, I don't know how it has been changed in last 15 years, but some of the topic it's being taught in our course curriculum in most of the cases, what remediation is. We don't talk about much about the technology, but there is a fair idea about what remediation is for each and every student. So this is one area I strongly believe anybody can just walk into this field and they can learn and survive, I'd say. The next field would be, it's very common, which is being taught in each and every university, which has been taught, I'd say 15 years back, and definitely it's being better now, more comprehensive, is environmental assessment. So I'm talking about EIA and EMP. So now most of the, I have seen some of the postgraduate curriculum in the UK, in some of the universities, so it's very detailed. So I remember during early 2005, during this time, we had a very detailed course curriculum for EIA and EMP. So this is one area. Again, in India, it is not done by the industry, it's done by some of the consultancy firm, but there are a lot of consultancy firm who make money out of this, and they recruit many environmentalists. And many cases, so whether they come from humanity or whether they come from engineering or science background, doesn't matter. So if you know the tools, how to do it, what are the area you have to cover, so easy to learn, I would say. And this is one area where I would say industry, NGOs, social sectors, so there are a lot of overlaps. So there are a lot of opportunity, I would say. So when you do environmental assessment, nowadays, what I'm seeing, environmental assessment, like in terms of energy, in terms of, I would say pollution prevention. So those are also critical for big projects. We're going to talk about more. So if we have time and opportunity to talk about, say, our COD for 26 or 27, which happened in last year. This time, 28 is gonna come, I think, end of November and December. So there are some commitment from many countries. So this is one area I strongly believe it would cherish more, and there will be more opportunity in future. Last two area I would say is around sustainability. So sustainability, if you see, it's a, I would say it's a the same wine in a new bottle. So this is not something new, okay? So we always talk about sustainability. If you see like 100 years back, there are also a concept of sustainability. Just thing is that now we are giving a level of sustainability, okay? And there are some sustainability projects where industries are doing. So generally it is part of, we call it in industry, operational excellence, and many cases part of continuous improvement. So which is not related to environment broadly, I would say. It's more about how you can save energy, how we can reduce waste, how you can lean your manufacturing line to reduce some of the unnecessary steps, right? So those we call like OP16 is very specific to Sherwin, but we generally call they are Six Sigma or lean projects where you can get a lot of value. So these are basically sustainable projects. When it comes to environment, so it's very specific to, I would say, ESG. Now, ESG, there are two aspects of ESG. One is the ESG reporting. The other is the ESG project. What are the projects you are going to do to reduce your carbon footprint? Okay, so which is very technical. Say, I'm going to show you our company's, say, 2025 and 2030 sustainability goals. So we declare something. We are going to, say, reduce carbon footprint by 30%. So one part is to report it every year, how your data mining, how you're managing everything, and put it in a format. Giving the opportunity to the public to review to see your report and other things. Those are the part of ESG reporting. So you don't need to be highly technical in those areas. So if you have the data and if you have the tools, so you can do it. So other thing is how you're going to achieve your commitments. Okay. So definitely you have to take some actions, some of the projects. So those projects are definitely highly technical. In some of the cases, maybe some administrative control you can take, but your scope is very limited. So the other part is how you are going to achieve your sustainability and ESG goals. So which is highly technical. So these are the two areas I would say it is still developing. It's not like safety or environmental compliance, which is quite established now. But there are a lot of smoke you could see here and there about sustainability and ESG. And I believe in near future, this is something gonna be really big in developing countries, and in Europe already it is quite big. So I would say these are the broad areas in environmental field where a student can pursue their career. All right.
Thank you, Dev. It's really interesting to know about different aspects and different job prospects where the students can try to cater it. I can give a small reference from the course that I am teaching, and many of my students of that class is now in this particular webinar, attending them. That we talk a lot about ESG and how ESG can be implemented. And one of the questions that always comes up now and then, that is what kind of workforce is actually required, because this is a very new field. And here what came to my mind when I was teaching this students in the class, that I have the reference of because we both are classmates. We used to take the same courses in Presidency College, University of Calcutta, almost 10 to 14 years back, or even more than that. I think 2007 we all pass out. So it gives an idea that we all started our life as a environmental professional, like only with a postgraduate degree in environment, not any specialized degree in engineering or any specialized degree in technology or any specialized degree in management also in that sense. But today you are managing the entire region of EMI, the entire region of Sherwin-Williams, different 30 plus production units. You counsel them, you give them ideas how to implement ESG models or EHS work models. So my idea is, what is about this journey? How can you give a little idea to our students, because they are also going to be graduate within 1 year, and many of the students are going to graduate within a year, and also that how this journey has been, how you have traveled from that classroom space where we learned a lot of theories during our time. I know about the course curriculum during those days, and what you are really experienced in the field when you really implemented this project, seen the problem at field and taken immediate step decisions. And another just a continuing question to this would be that do you think that a student, if he or she is interested in the field of environment, is a particular graduation in engineering or science or arts, this could be a kind of limitation for them to be engaged in the field of environmental management, ESG or EHS?
Yeah, it's really a good question. So we can spend rest of our day answering it. So really, it's going to be a long answer. But before giving this answer, I just wanted to show you where I ended my conversation with you. How about sustainability and ESG? I said there are two areas. One is the reporting, other is how we're going to achieve it. Okay. So I just quickly share one example and then I will come back to your question. Is it okay?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay. I don't know how to do that. Just confirm me. Is it audible to
Yeah,
you?
it is being shared. Yes, it is shared. Right.
Okay. Perfect. So if you see, I'm just showing it to you, so you can also Google it. It's on a public domain, so nothing confidential. So it's the sustainability goals of the company. Yeah, I'll just stick to here where let us focus on only environmental footprint. Okay. So you can see we talk about 4 things here. So we are going to reduce our carbon footprint, scope 1 and scope 2. I hope everybody, you know what scope 1, scope 2 is, greenhouse gas emission by 30%. So that is something we want to achieve by 2030. So these are the objectives we have taken in 2020 and the baseline was 2019 data. Okay. Next is increase the electricity from renewable sources by 50% of total electricity use. So it's a very challenging objective. Increase operational energy efficiency by 20% and reduce waste disposal intensity by 25%. So these are the objective for the company. Okay. So I just want to correct you, Abhirup. So what you said, like in EMEA, I was just checking. Now we have total 84 sites. So even I didn't know we had that many sites. Okay. So globally, which I'm anticipating, we'll have at least 300 plus sites. And we have almost 5,000 general store where the person can go and buy our products. So it's a huge footprint. So if we want to do it, this project, to achieve this goal, so definitely you are going to do some of the projects. So one part I said to do the data mining, how each and every plant is performing throughout the year. You could just take those data, do some of the mapping, and end of the year you can publish. Yeah, we have achieved, say, 3% reduction this year, kind of a statement, which is ESG reporting basically. But how you're gonna achieve it? So definitely you need to take some projects. Say for renewable energy. So what you are going to do? So whether you are buying energy from, suppose in Europe, you can buy, it's not, energy companies are not driven by the government. So there are private companies. So you can just have an agreement with them. So we want to buy energy only from the renewable power plant. Okay. So that could be one initiative you could take. There could be other initiatives like in Europe, like Spain, Portugal, in Italy, there is a good sunlight throughout the year. So we can plant some of the solar panels and have our own captive power plant in the site. So that could be another area. So we could even given some general awareness training to the employees, how to reduce the electricity and how we can change our buildings. Suppose these are all the cold countries, so we are gonna use a lot of electricity for heating and for the people, and so that's why how you are going to rearrange your building, how you are changing your design of the windows from single glaze to the double glaze, or how you are using some of the building material which can take some of the, keep the heat within. So those are the projects. So definitely we can do, suppose the lighting. So if we change everything to LED lighting, so there would be a lot of energy savings. So these are the areas. So once we think about those projects, then definitely we need a workforce. So it would be either environmental or engineering. So there is opportunity for environmental students. Okay. So in the same way, we will have like product and social impact, blah, blah. So these are the sustainability goals. And each and every area, I would say, you need workforce. So definitely. So we have to just see how we can align these projects towards environmental professional. But my experience is saying we have really good opportunities. All right. So I hope this gives you some ideas where we have the opportunities. Okay. So I'm now coming back to your question. How was my journey, right? And we read, we studied a lot of theories. When I come to the industry, how it was it the same or was it different? So I hope, I assume that's the first question, right? Okay. I would say, I'm afraid to say it was not the same, first of all. It was very, very different. So in our education system, 15 years back was like that. So you focus on a lot of theories, which most of the cases do not apply in the field. So you have to have your common sense. But what helped me, I would say, if you just keep your educational background and whatever you have studied, if you just keep that as a support function, then it helps and you don't complain. So when it comes to, say, EIA, so you say, okay, EIA, it's going to be like this, phase 1, phase 2, these are the parameters we have to check. Now, when you go to the industry and you see, okay, I have this many data, so these are the things cannot be doable. So these are the things achievable. Then you do your own logical thinking and see what is the risk. So suppose I would say always risk assessment help us. And risk assessment, it comes from your experience, not from only a tools, I would say. You may have the best tool to do risk assessment, but whatever the risk you are identifying, whether they are experienced or what is your like 20-30 years experience in the industry, people who are facing some problems on other things, whether your risk assessment in line with that. So in field, you will see there are a lot of things which is not doable. So you have to skip it. And always you have to introspect, is there any other alternatives, what we could do and which may apply the same thing, same logic. So that's the thing you have to apply. So that's why whatever you studied, it should be a support function. So if somebody say EIA, yes, I know the basic concept of EIA. But when a professional is saying, okay, you do like there are 10 points, you do 1 to 5, 6, 7, 8, you just skip. So they are not relevant to this type of industry. So listen to them, use their logical thinking, whether it is really relevant. Suppose I do a lot of corporate audit. So I have done audit in Europe. I have done this in the States, in many Southeast Asian countries. So before joining this company, my idea was paint means it's a liquid form. I didn't know there are some paint which is in powder form. Okay, which is maybe now this is something is interesting to you. So I hope you didn't know that there are some paint which is in powder form. There are some paint which is being applied with electrostatic gun by robots. I didn't know that. If a normal person shouldn't know, first of all. So there is no shame on it. Say I'm going to a plant to do audit, which is a powder plant, okay? Where I'd say water is basically enemy. So do I need to do a water audit there? No, it doesn't make any sense. They don't use water, first of all. They use water only for toilet. They use water only for maybe for cooling towers or for heating and cooling purpose, not in the process. So if they do not use water in the process, is there any risk to the environment? Is there any effluent? No. But if you see in EIA, they said, okay, you have to cover this, you have to cover this. So when you are not doing it, so you need to have the justification why you are not doing it, why it is not irrelevant, why it is irrelevant, right? So which comes from only your experience and your logical thinking. So that is something you are going to find when you start working in some consultancy on an NGO or industry. So that was the difference thing. The other thing, when I started as an wastewater engineering professional. And initially I struggled a lot because I didn't have an engineering background. And those back in those days, like wastewater engineering was very much dominated by civil engineers. But now people realize, so civil engineers, they can do only the designing of the tanks and other stuff, but it's completely biotechnology. It's a biochemical process in most of the cases. So I had to learn basic chemical engineering. I had to learn basic civil and biotechnology, and none of was my background. Okay, so what I did, so I did a diploma. I did an engineering diploma in process safety engineering during my initial career. So which helped me to some extent to understand process safety. But again, it's entirely up to you. How is your intention and how you're interested in your subject? But I was very confident that I'm going to pursue something in my field. I'm not going to appear for some exams for banking or some school service commissions or college service commissions. No, so I decided, so if I want to pursue my career, it's going to be something related to environmental health and safety. I just did it. So there are a lot of struggle, but there are a lot of fun, I would say.
Thanks. I mean, this is a really good insight into what is really happens in the industry. That's something we always try to talk a lot in our classes also, that what theories are coming up, what are the theories and how it is applied in the industries and different field-based scenarios. So learning from you, we can understand that anybody who has the right mind and want to really work hard in the field of environment, the road is not very velvet smooth, but yes, if somebody have the intention to learn, they can really shine in this particular domain and career. And with this, in the same continuation of this particular answer, I would like to ask you a very interesting question that many of the students also sometimes ask me when they discuss with me about their future careers and all. That is there a difference between recruitment and job prospect for environmental graduates in say in global north or global south, and with the recent the advances and understanding of climate change paradigm, when now everybody know that the climate is changing, we can understand very well sitting at Sonipat right now. And yeah, even it is a known fact the climate is changing. So every company is trying to implement ESGs to either to make the their stocks more attractive to the investors, or to make the processes more safe to the environment. Now with this kind of new changes that has come into the market and can come into the scenario, how the recruitment and the job profile is matching, and whether there is any kind of differences you feel, because you in our last discussion I had with you, you told me that you sometimes also play some lead role in recruitment also. So when you recruit people, or when companies recruit, what kind of skill set they generally see, and is there a difference in this recruitment from in global north and global south scenario regarding the domain of environmental health and safety, or ESG?
Yeah, it's a good question and very relevant, I'd say. Excuse me. So I'm just split your question into three, starting with, is there any difference between the perspective when we do recruitment, say in India, or when we do recruitment in Europe? So that's the first question. And the other interesting question you ask is, with this current scenario, with climate change and other stuff, how it is impacting the job in a broader sense. I'm not talking about industry. So you have jobs in industry, you have jobs in NGOs, you have jobs in consultancy firms. So these are the three areas generally who recruits environmentalists, right? So coming to this question first is, in general, if you say, which is really a shame, I would say, in industry or in any consultancy firm or NGOs. So they are not here to save the mankind, first of all, right? So which is really a shame, but it's true. So industry is here to make money. That is something you have to understand. Consultancies are here to support industry and other social sectors. If there is no fund, so they would not survive. Third is the NGOs. So NGOs, I would say, again, it's mostly funded by big companies or the government. Okay. So again, it's a, so nobody is here to save the mankind, I would say. And you might have seen some of big political leaders, they also many cases don't believe in climate change, which gives a very negative impact to general public at large. So how we are going to balance it? So that would be the question. So now there are two types of companies. One is, I would say, like big corporations. So where the investors or the companies are run by professionals who are highly educated, well-traveled, well-versed, who knows what is happening in the world and other stuff. And if you declare some of the ESG goals, and if you monitor time to time, if you show some of environmental initiatives, your stock price increase. So if you see, like Sherwin-Williams stock, so we have some very, I would say, significant environmental impact what we had made in the US last 10-15 years. So we developed some of the products like zero VOC, so which is our own patents. We got an award from EPA in 2014. So yeah, it's good for being an environmentalist, but the outcome, most of the cases, your stock price, it skyrocketed. Because nowadays, the general public who has money, who has like basic education and other stuff. So they value environment. So that's the good thing. Okay. Now there are other companies like who are not uh, like part of big multinationals. In those cases, so these are, I would say, not the core value, it's added advantages. And I'm not very sure how they're managing it because they also have certain goals, but whether those goals are being replicated in their day-to-day activity or standard practices or processes. Okay. So I would say it's still developing. It's not being established. That would be my answer, the perspective. Next is coming to your other questions about recruitment. Yeah, there is a huge difference in recruitment process in India and in so-called first world country. And it's again driven by demand and supply. So in India, you have always options. So I recruited one person in India, one of our unit, 7 months back. So I got for one EHS manager, I got more than 500 applications. Okay, so we had to remove that ad from LinkedIn in within a week time. So 500 application for one. So I recruited one person 4 months back in Sweden. The job was open on our website and some of other websites like LinkedIn, almost 4 weeks. We didn't get any application. So ultimately we got 3 applications and we had to choose from those 3 candidates. So again, it's an demand and supply. But my experience in India, so they generally see whether you have a related experience. So if they're going to hire an environment person, so number one, the person should have an environmental background. Okay. So now, so if it's a big company, so they recruit like at a time 10, 20, sometimes if you see Reliance, they just recruit 30, 40 people at a time. So those are trainee graduate. So you don't need an experience. So if you have a qualification, you are eligible, right? So that's the thing. But if you start applying for some job which requires some of the experience, so most of the cases probably they don't consider freshers, most of the small companies. So there is a change of perspective, okay? But here, suppose if you want to have a career in environment, say in the US or in any country in Europe, so generally we just see whether you have a graduate degree or not. Okay. So we don't want anybody like should have like an environmental background. Yeah, it's good to have, but if you have intention to do something good in environment, so there is equal opportunity. So if you have a graduate degree, so you are eligible to do anything you want to do in these countries. Okay. So thing is that right attitude, your learning process, those are more important. But yeah, it is always, if it's an influential and a senior position, so definitely we give a lot of value for experience, even if you don't have that relevant degree. So you will see, like in companies like us, there are many people working in environment, they don't have any environmental degree, right? but they have experience, like somebody is working like 10, 15 years of experience, which you cannot, which you cannot gain with just reading those books in 3, 4 years, which is not possible. So, but if you have a graduate degree, so definitely you are eligible. So that's the difference. Does it make sense, or does it clear to your question, or you need any more explanation?
That quite clarifies the job scenario and how it is different in global north and global south, but particularly in the context of environmental domains. That brings us to one of the questions that many students are very willing to know, that over the period of time, is there, do you think, because here with all the different recent development that is happening in the field of environment, particularly the policy level directives that are coming up, like the emissions should need to go neutral or at least net zero over the period of time. Is there any going to be a kind of increase in the demand of environmentally conscious graduate? I will not call environmental graduate, but I'll do call environmental conscious graduates, that maybe companies will be looking for them, or our market is going to come up soon, or is already there, but maybe you'll be not even aware of it. So can you share a little some time on that?
Yeah. So I think we have 10 minutes now. So after this answer, I'm going to take some questions from the student. The other thing I just forgot to mention before, if you remember, I said, keep your environmental degree as a support function, right? So it should support your career. If you think in that way and you have the intention to grow in this field, I would say, yeah, it is 100% achievable. Definitely. Just keep it in mind. So whatever you have learned, that should support you, but don't try to replicate, or don't try to apply detour 100% in your professional career. So that would be a blunder if you do that. So now I'm just going to give you here one example. So I think stories, this is something we remember rather than those boring lectures. So with this awareness, so I strongly believe definitely there will be more job opportunities. So how we are going to take it, it is up to us, and how we are develop our skill towards those opportunities. So that's the tricky part. So if you remember in 2021, the climate change conference, which happened in I think it was happening in Glasgow, if I'm not wrong, something in Scotland. So there is a great summary of actions out of that conference. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, 140 plus country, they committed to go for net zero emissions by 2050. Some of the countries they have not mentioned, but say most of the European country like France, Germany, UK, so they even have some timeline. Okay. So now once we say something and you need to achieve that, how we are going to do it. So definitely you have to take some actions. So I'm just giving one example here. So there is a regulations in European Union, they call it EED, Energy Efficiency Directive. So as for this directive, if you are part of any EU state, so you need to do an energy audit every 4 years, okay? So in the UK, it's different. They call it ESOS, Energy Savings Opportunity Scheme. It's the same, nothing different. So the name is different. So, so now this year, it started in 2015. So we had a phase 2 ESOS or EED compliance in 2019, and this year it is due. So now UK, what happened? So whatever the energy audit report being submitted to the authorities. So they're reviewing it. So there is no requirement to do some energy savings project as per that regulation. So you just need to do the audit. So it's part of monitoring, I would say. Now, in the UK, they are rejecting many reports because of the quality. So they are saying, no, you have not done the proper job. You redo it and resubmit. Okay. So this is a good thing, I would say. So at least government is asking you to do a quality audit in terms of energy management. And what I'm expecting in next amendment, once phase 3 is over, so there will be new regulations. So which will ask you to implement at least some projects. Okay. So if you want to do some energy savings projects, so definitely you need some people who would be leading it. And there are a lot of awareness in first world country now, like how we are going to reduce the fluorinated compounds. So PFAS, we call it. So there is a new rule came in the EU a couple of months back. So it's on now public domain for 6 months. So you can provide feedback to the authorities. So yeah, there are a lot of things are coming. And I hope in India, so say the way Central Pollution Control Board and Ministry of Environment is their perspective. So there are a lot of restrictions in terms of plastic waste management, hazardous waste management, emission controls. So if you ask for so many things to do, who are going to do it? So definitely we are going to do it. So there will be a lot of, you know, they will need a lot of people. So there will be good scope for environmental students. So if you acquire those skills apart from your day-to-day studies.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I mean, this really clears a lot of the doubts to the student, definitely, who are envisioning to have a career in the field of environment or anything related to environment and sustainability. So I think most of the question the student already has in mind has been already answered to this particular webinar. I mean, only one question that comes to my mind that many students may be interested to know, that being a graduate from India, do they can directly apply for any job positions in global north, or they need to build up their experience and then application would be a better option? What do you think as from the point of view of a recruiter, like if you want to recruit someone, so what do you really prefer between these two domains?
I would say if somebody comes for higher studies in Europe or in the States, it's easy. But if you apply for job, so after pandemic, I'd say it's a lot of liabilities for the industry. So again, you have to see from industry's perspective why they need to hire somebody from India, where you have plenty of people around. So because taking a person from a different country, it's a lot of liabilities. So you have to sponsor his visa. You have to do a lot of things. So if it is a like a trainee or graduate, so I'm not saying it's zero. There are companies who recruit international students, but most of the companies, I don't think they recruit graduate from overseas. The other thing is, but if you apply for some job, some say higher education in especially in Europe, so it's quite easy nowadays. It's not like during our time of Europe. So it's 15 years back and now. So it's totally changed now. And the other thing is what I see. So once you come here, there are a lot of opportunities. So I know many students who doesn't get anything from their family in financial help, but they do a lot of part-time job and survive, which is very much possible here, which is not possible in India, right? So I would say if somebody interested, so they should check some of the universities in some European countries. Always Germany would be the best option because there is no tuition fees in Germany so far for the higher education. So if you apply in the UK, so in the UK, school and everything is free, but when it comes to higher education, so there is a tuition fee you have to pay. So that would be a better option to have a degree from here and then apply for a job rather than directly applying for a job. But there are research-based organizations. So if you have some specific skill, so they recruit overseas students that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Thank you, Demallo, for your time, and you are extremely busy. Just to give a note to our students, I think you just completed a field 2 days back, traveling almost half of the Europe and looking into different production units. Now, again, from tomorrow onwards, we again have another set of field visits that are scheduled. So in between this time, you given this 1 hour to us, and particularly to our students who are now pursuing their course in environmental management, with the eye who has a very important question in their mind, that what they are going to do after they graduate out, what is the course line, or what is the kind of career aspect they want to pursue. And many of the students had come to me, and that's why I requested you to come for this meeting, that they want to know what is a prospect in the field of environmental management. So this really clarifies lots of doubts. And this also clarifies the doubts that a student and what kind of career prospect they have over the period of time, and how, and it is indeed growing. The job market and the job requirement is growing, and it is again multidisciplinary, because you mentioned yourself that many of the EHS experts that you have in your company may not come from entirely from a particular background. It is a mixed bag coming from different experience sets. So this itself gives a lot of motivation to a student to think now how to hone their career and what kind of skill set they would be requiring to make themselves relevant in the field of environment and sustainability that is going to come up over the period of time. We from JSES are really thankful to you for giving this time to us and to our students. If there is any question that I find that our student have, as we have a paucity of time, we already passed 2 minutes 3 here in our IST. So in that case, if there is any question, I will definitely going to contact you directly and try to seek clarification regarding that. And thank you again. And also thank you to all the participants in this webinar who has attended this lecture. And I'm sure that they have gained some insight into the processes of environmental management, what are the job prospects, what are the recruitment prospects, how they can plan their career now over the period of time. And looking back now, I'll end up with a note from the old days, like the old days when we were sharing the same classrooms. Like in our time, this kind of sessions are impossible to even think of. Nobody comes to us and tell us what is the current prospect and what kind of skill set we need. But now it is a very welcoming change in the pedagogy, that this kind of webinars are encouraged over, and in JU it is encouraged everywhere, so that the students can learn directly from the people who are working in the field. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Obirup. So it was really pleasure having this session. So I just apologize to another meeting, so I'll be late. So that's not a problem. So I could see some of the questions from, maybe not all. I like to take maybe a few questions, and later we can answer others. So there is a set of questions. So what is the starting salary of environmental manager? Do you think that every corporate organization should have an environmental manager to consult the organization on how to be sustainable? Yeah, so this is a very good question, I'd say. Corporate environmental manager. Corporate is a big thing. Okay. So like if you see like our company, corporate is really big. So uh, as I mentioned, for our company, we have 300 plus manufacturing units. So we have 100 plus offices and 4,800 almost general stores. So to manage such kind of a huge structure, so definitely you need many people in corporate. So in our EHS, we have corporate, which is run by almost 90 people, and we have divisions. So all this manufacturing, it comes under, we call it global supply chain. So they have almost say 300 EHS professionals who are either working at a regional level or on the plant uh, to, 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 to monitor or check or help the operations for EHS compliance. Okay, so at a plant level, generally we have one person for environment and one person for general safety and process safety. So it's a huge setup, I would say. But any smaller company, their setup would be totally different. And the salary, I would say, it depends. It depends. But if you see in Europe and you ask for environmental manager, so environmental manager salary, say in Europe, it start with around 45,000 euro to 60,000 euro. 60,000 would be the highest, and 45,000 euro would be, I'd say, it's a good salary, I would say, per year. But there are some companies who pay less. But if you see in India, I would say for in many cases, environmental manager, most of the cases they don't consider, they call it the EHS manager. One, if I consider a small plant having like 100 and 200 people working in a manufacturing plant, so they will have at least one EHS manager, and under him generally there will be one or two specialists. So in those cases, generally good companies, the salary would be, I don't know. If you ask me, I don't know, because when I was in India, I used to get a very good salary, which is not, which is sometimes is much better than even Europe, some European countries. Okay, so I would say, but if somebody is getting less than 15 lakhs INR per year, so that would be quite disgraceful. So generally it would be more. Okay, but as a freshers, generally, like our company, when we recruit, say in India or in other, like 6 to 9 lakhs, generally we offer for a graduate trainee. And I work with another university in Dehradun. So I used to give such kind of lectures to them. So that's the question I got from them, and the feedback when there is like Amazon or some other recruiter like Reliance comes, they always offer uh, even 10 to 12 lakh salary per annum for MTech graduate. Okay, so this is the average. But if you have experience, good experience with good companies, so definitely you can ask for more, and which nowadays most of the company are giving. So the other question was like whether they consult to the organization on how to be sustainable. Yes, definitely. So in most of the cases, the like EHS reports to EHS is part of the management team, and they always report to the highest authority on the plant. So definitely each and every management meeting and others, so they are invited. So definitely management consult with them. And again, it depends on the company. In many companies, like I work as a company before, where EHS was the last authority. So, but it depends. But generally they consult. Let us take one more question before I go. What are some biggest challenges that EHS professionals face in their work, and how can they overcome them? Uh, as per my experience, in most of the company, EHS is a small function if you compare with production, quality, and other department. So say in production, you have like 50 people, in EHS, you have only two. And most of the cases, they don't report to you. So like in your professional career, you will get to know, uh, like it's very structured. So it's not like your students' life, whatever you want to do, can do. It's not like that. So uh, whom are you reporting? That is very much important. So in most of the cases, nobody reports to EHS. So how you are going to implement some of the EHS standard practice at a plant level? So that is quite challenging. So again, how you are going to influence them, because they don't report to you. So whatever you say, they are not obligated to listen. So that's a trick, and that's a balance act, and each professional generally do. So they say you should have a stick on your hand and you should have honey in your mouth. So you should be very balanced. So whenever it's required, you have to be very harsh to the people, and sometimes you have to promote. So it's a very balanced action. So I believe that's the biggest challenge. And in some companies, funding is also a challenge. So you ask for so many things. And in industry, generally for each and every project, we do calculate for ROI, return of investment, and most of the EHS project, there is no return of investment. So how you are going to influence the management to get it funded? So that would be another challenge. How do Fortune companies ensure that their EHS professionals stay up to date with changes in regulations and best practices? So generally, Fortune companies, uh, they have a standard practice of train their people, EHS people. So each and every country, we have subscribed for some of the consultancy firm, which used to provide you all the updates of local regulations. And we organize some of the conference. So for us, say we organize annual conference in the region. So all these EHS manager from the plant, so they come together in a conference. It's a really big, like 300, 400 people. And we provide them some basic training and some team building activities, regulations and everything. And most of the plants, so they have like certain, uh, like for the UK, we have a software taken from a company where you get to know how your plant is impacting. So in that software, we have a mapping for each and every plant. If there is a new regulations is released in the country, so it's being reviewed and we see how is it relevant. So what are the clauses will be relevant to that plant, and those people are getting trained. So this is and then other thing is we have like a monthly and weekly call among all EHS professionals, and we share the best practices. If something is, say, I have been to Italy last week and I saw some of the good practice in a plant, so we generally give them opportunity like 5-10 minutes in our weekly meeting where other people can also learn and steal from with pride. How do EHS professionals collaborate with other stakeholders within the company, such as operations, finance team, to achieve shared goals? So again, the answer would be the first answer. EHS is part of, for most of the Fortune company, part of the management team. So they are involved in each and every management decision. So they have always the opportunity to set those targets to other functions. What role do EHS professionals play in promoting a culture of safety, sustainability within their organizations? So it depends and it varies from company to company. So in our company, we are very clear about it. So we are here to help you, but if there is any EHS issue and other things, so it's your problem. So it's in operations problem. So if you like generate more waste, so you are going to dispose, so it's your problem. So we are here to help you, but I'm not generating any waste, right? So it's a line management responsibility, we call it in Sherwin-Williams. So how do we promote? So whenever we see something good, we acknowledge that, we reward them, the operations team, but ultimate, it's an operations job. And in our company, it's very much integrated. So in operations, so they have 5 focus area. It starts with EHS. So first pillar is EHS, second pillar is quality, third pillar is service. So fourth pillar is people, and fifth pillar is cost. So whenever there is a decision is being made, so we generally follow this sequence. I hope I answer most of the question.
One question, if you can, though it is not directly related to ESG, but interestingly put, that do you think the microbial fuel cells in wastewater treatment or bioelectricity production in large scale basis is something that is you see a lot over the period of day, or it is getting popular?
I don't see that, because in industry still they follow activated sludge process most of the cases. You have to understand the other thing. So what is anything we do on research? So once we try to implement something in the industry, it should be well established. So it's not something we are doing in a lab scale, and there is a cost involved. So until those technologies are well established and showing you some impacts, positive impacts, so no industry is going to invest like 10, 20 crore in such things, because in industry still EHS is mostly part of compliance. Okay, so there will be some companies who are selling those technologies. So definitely they will be doing some pilots in some industries, and it'll be, but when it comes to general industry, large scale industries, it's not popular, I would say. Be politically correct, it's not popular. Maybe they are doing it, but I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you for taking your time out and going a little extra in order to answer the questions. I'm sure students are immensely benefited from this particular webinar. And I will be in touch with you. If somebody has any other questions, I will definitely relay it back to you. And thank you, Devmalla, for your wonderful time. And also, it's a pleasure to talk to you after a long time and discuss this very relevant issue of environmental jobs and what are the different demands and what are the different supplies and what are the different skill set that is required. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See you
To all
soon.
the
Bye-bye.
अच्छा भाई।